order at 6:36 p.m. Okay, so the explanation of virtual meeting procedure.
So I just wanted to let everyone who is listening in as an attendee know that this meeting is being recorded in compliance with the amended Open Meetings Act. So this meeting will also be transcribed by meeting minutes that will be on our website, as well as the video uploaded to our YouTube channel. We are not currently in person due to the amended Open Meetings Act, and we'll resume this way until further notice from Governor Pritzker.
Okay. And then the public comments, the time limit is 3 minutes per speaker. You got 30 minutes maximum, but I think that's maybe a typo.
That's in total. So
gotcha. Oh, gotcha.
Yeah,
Okay.
if we had 10 people, they could, it'd be 30 minutes maximum, but 3 minutes per speaker.
Okay, but the public comments in the first part is anything that's regarding anything that's on the agenda.
Correct. So everyone in the attendees are permitted to speak. So I have given everybody access to talk during this time. If they have anything to say, you can all come off your mute. You have muted yourself, and you can speak to the board regarding the agenda.
Okay. Doesn't look like anyone has any comments. All right. So,
Wait, Carrie, I do.
oh, hey, Ernie. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. Is James on? Because I think we wanted to ask about the Ivy talking to the board about delinquent taxes.
That's actually, is that on the agenda?
No,
no, it's not.
I spoke
Okay.
to Theo, and I told him that will go under new business because this is everything that carried over from our December meeting. And
Okay, got it.
to, yep.
I'm out and I'm quiet until new business.
Yep.
Thank you.
Is James one of the people on the phone, Ernie?
He might be. I'm not sure where he is. I know he's going to be on this.
Okay. All right. I see two people on the phone, but I don't see anyone named James in as an attendee right now anyway.
Okay.
So,
I'm gonna be
but yeah,
quiet and listen.
we'll talk about new business. And also the public comment below number 8 is public comment for anything that's not on the agenda.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, that's kind of how we roll with that.
Okay, I appreciate that. Thanks.
No problem. All right. So who would like to make a motion to approve the agenda?
I do, Pablo.
All right, Pablo. And then who would like to second?
I will second it.
Okay, Gordon seconds. All in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed? Okay, so has anyone taken the time to read the meeting minutes from December 10th?
I did.
Yes.
All right, so would anyone like to make a motion to approve the meeting minutes of December 10th?
I approve them, Diane.
Diane? Okay, so Diane first, anyone for a second?
I second.
All right, Pablo seconds, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, Ivy, executive director's report.
Okay. So, so far we have started off to a pretty good start. Then we're in our second month of 2021. So we're still working on our files. We're more than 95. We're at 100% files transitioning to Salesforce, but we still have to scrub that data, and that's still going to take us to about end of the year. So we should have all data scrubbed for the next 10 months. We're working on that to make sure everything is updated. We were able to get a lot more data when we did our mass mailing in December. So we know who's in their home, who's not in their home, and how to proceed with that information. And we also received all the taxpayers in the district's information as well, and we're scrubbing that data. So we can do another mass mailing, and that's in another point coming up. Another mass mailing to people who are not necessarily in our program, but live in our jurisdiction. So that kind of rolls into my marketing materials. We updated our trifos, and they're available and printed in the office. And I have been taken them. I've already had one alderman meeting, so I took some there to that meeting, and the ones that are in person, I will drop off those flyers. The ones that are not, I will make it my business to drop them off at their office sometime during this month and next month. We did complete our mass mailing for the holiday season. We sent out over 2,000 holiday postcards. We had quite a few come back. We had quite a few people call afterwards. So it was a good test for us to see who was in their home and who is no longer there. We are doing 2 more additional mailings for this year. We have one that's going to the local community, and then we'll have another one going back out to our members. We rolled out our newsletter in November 2020, and we're gearing up for our March 2021 release. Our newsletter is quarterly. So I have scheduled quarterly alderman meetings. And so far for first quarter, I met with Sposato. I have Villegas scheduled, but as of today, I have Nugent scheduled. Cardona is giving me a call back. I think his is tentative. Talaferro scheduled, and Gardner is calling me back as well. So those are the ones that we have done so far. Yes? Is there a question?
What about Reboyas?
Oh, Reboyas. I sent the email over to his chief of staff. They have not gotten back in touch with me yet. So he was one of my first 3. So I have not heard back from them.
Did I touch base with them?
I spoke to them and they told me to send an email, and I sent the email and they have not reached back out
All right.
with a date and time. So I'll reach back out to them next week and see kind of where they're at with his scheduling.
Buenas.
Right.
Estas están rebajadas ya.
Carrie, did you say that you did call, you did talk to Alderman Gardner?
That was Ivy, and I spoke to
I'm
his
trying to mute
staff.
me.
I
Muted.
Hold on, Diane, let me mute you. I spoke to his staff
Yeah.
today, and they told me that he would give me a call back personally to set up that appointment.
Okay, great.
So that's kind of my alderman update. I will keep you guys updated on these meetings. As each person's alderman gives me a scheduled time, I will send you an email with either the link to the Zoom, or if it's in person, I will call you guys on my cell phone because I don't want anyone to have to come out in this weather to be a part of the meeting, because I do want you to hear what's being said and, you know, speak on your behalf and on behalf of the organization with your alderman. Strategic planning. We're currently forming the committee for our strategic planning committee. Our first meeting will be held in April. We'll send out invites towards the end of May, and all the meetings will be via Zoom. So this committee will be made up of community leaders, whoever the aldermen choose from their office, and people in the community. So we're looking for a nice array of people, a good mixture to help us kind of get on board for what we'll look like for the next 5 years, starting in 2022. They'll all be held by Zoom, and it's only quarterly. So we'll only meet technically 4 times a year, with the last meeting in December. So we will double up in 1 month to meet the meeting that we'll miss for this first quarter. So we'll meet twice in the second quarter, once in third quarter, and then fourth quarter, we'll present to the board. Program enrollees. So we currently have 3 new enrollees. That was in November. So right now we're at 20 new enrollees for 2020, which was great to have our year, given the circumstances. But as of this year, we are already at 5 for January, and we have people calling every day. So we're looking to double that number. And this, excuse me, I'm gonna pause for 1 second so I can allow Commissioner Simmons. Hold on a second. All right. And as he's now a panelist. Our annual audit. So we have an annual audit coming up, and we will be using our former auditor, Wonderful Watson. He will be assisting us with our audit preparation. I want to make sure that all our T's are crossed and our I's are dotted, as we have purchased property this year. And we just want to make sure that everything that is done correctly and is accounted for. So that will be something that we're working on. Actually, we're starting this month. It'll probably last till about April, and then the auditors come in and audit all of our financials, and that report will be available to the public, hopefully by our December meeting, given how long the audit takes. But as soon as it's available to us, it's available to the public. Our outreach, where we are still in communication with nonprofits, retail stores for in-kind gifts, and we're working on any additional marketing opportunities. And that will be ongoing as we try to secure some more partnerships. Our home improvement loan program is off to a very slow start this year, but given it's snow everywhere, no one has decided to fix up their home. But we do have some increase. Most people are saying they're waiting to April and May. So we do have some people just waiting until the weather breaks that I have spoken to myself. So last year we ended with 11 applications for 2020. And then finally is board training, and that will be held May 2021. And it will be virtual. So you guys, I will give you guys a definite date once I have secure all the speakers, but it will be a dynamic day. I'm not gonna take up your whole day, so most likely a half a day, but it'll be great training on our board. So that is it for the executive director's report. And so I think next is the financial report. So I'm going to actually share my screen so I can show you our end of year of 2020. Hold on a second.
Hey, Ivy, do you mind just muting everybody except you?
Absolutely. Okay, as you guys see, I'm going to enlarge this. Thing's really small. Whew, that's too large. Okay. As you can see, we ended 2020 mostly in the green. We had some stuff in the red. One thing I want to call your attention to is our real estate appraisal consultant. We spend about $5,850. We will probably double that this year at the rate we're going. So I do want to call your attention that this was slowed down due to COVID, and we was in a period where we just did not feel comfortable with allowing people in people's homes until we understood what was going on with COVID and how it was affecting households and families. And now that I think we have a better understanding of what to do to protect ourselves and others, we comfortably are able to allow our appraisers to go out. They're comfortable going out, and our members are comfortable with having them in their homes at this point. Also, our property taxes. This $12,000 included our rent for 3 months, our property taxes, and our condo association. I think this was a very glaring at how much money we have saved by making that move. Again, a couple of things we did go over. We went over what our service contract, and that's what ADP. I will be renegotiating those fees like I did last year to hopefully bring that number back down. Our management software went up $10.60, and as well as office supplies, we went over by $10.60 as well, or $10 for management software and $10.60 for office supplies. And our contingencies was over by $338.36. So we went over a little under $1,000 for last year with anything that we went over in total, but we were still in the green of $62,530.68 of total what we budget for operating. So if we look at the total operating budget, we were under by $62,000. For our loan program, we spent about $3,249. I do not have the December numbers, so this is not quite totally accurate. I do have some more stuff I need from Marquette, so I'm hoping to get that soon to have that number finalized, but it shouldn't be too far off because this is based on the schedule that they sent me. We did have one claim that was $65,000, and that left us with $85,000 for our claim settlements for 2020. And again, we budgeted for any program costs for 450,000. We spent about 68, so we were 383 in the green. Hoping to see more of this loan program cost gone. And again, that $300,000 is such a big number. We don't have that much actually in the bank, but that is what we have allocated for that whole program. So this is what we've spent towards that program thus far. And this is, if I'm not mistaken, pretty much the life of the program. And I'm sure that number can increase each budget year. And that's it. So pretty much this is what we're looking at for our year. We came under budget, which is great. We spent pretty much what we got in total revenues. So between our total operating expenditures was 271, our revenue covers that. So again, that kind of goes along with the argument of us kind of being very fiscally responsible, that our agency does not spend more than what we take in. And that's even with a deficit, because usually we get a little bit more money and our interest, but our interest was very low this year, and we still were able to stay within the boundaries of how much we received, we spent. Any questions regarding our final budget for 2020?
I have a question.
Sure.
I see in the bottom,
Mhm.
this negative 61,524. What is, explain that again?
So we budgeted for 334,000 and we only spent 272,000. So this is what we thought we were going to get in revenue. That's not what we got. We only got 272,000 of revenue, but we only spent 271. So actually our revenue covered our whole operations for the year.
And what my question is, and then why didn't we get that number? What is there? Is any main reason why we didn't get that revenue number?
We projected that the interest would be $200,000. We only got $144,000.
It's
Okay.
a-
all right.
we're directly impacted by the interest rates.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
And then the enrollment fees, we said we were going to get $9,000 in enrollment fees. We got 2,900 in people enrolled.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Okay, that was it.
Okay.
Hey, Ivy, this is Laura.
Sure.
It's been a long day, so sorry if this is sort of an obvious question or one I should know.
No.
But the claims settlements line item, can you just clarify for me what that is?
Sure. That's if someone has filed a claim against the program. So that's if someone is selling their home and it doesn't sell at the price, and we cut the check for the difference. That's the price. That's what we paid out in that claim. So we only
Got it.
have one claim to come through that went through the whole process with us, and the payout was $65,000, but we had allotted for $150,000 for that year.
Okay, got it. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, so that was the financial report, right, Ivy?
Correct. Yes.
Okay, so now this is the public comment section for anything not on the agenda. So Ernie?
Yes, Ivy, I know I had talked to you about the delinquent taxes that we found are happening. And for everyone else, I don't know if you shared with them, there's 52,000 people who are delinquent in their taxes. And 23,000 of them are seniors and are about $1,000 behind. And we had asked if possibly the Northwest Home Equity Assurance Program would be able to give loans out. And I know you've talked to Representative Gazzardi, and he has been working on some legislation where it would be possible. I was going to ask, you have people that you know at Southwest Home Equity Assurance, correct?
Yes. Mhm.
And do you think that they might be able to, if they would want to do the same? If you guys agree, would you want to call them and see if they would also agree? I know Gazzardi felt it would be great if both you and Southwest would agree. But first off, we have to make sure every one of you agree
Right.
to this. And I was gonna, uh, do you have any thoughts, or has the board listened to that, or do you need questions answered, or?
So they haven't listened. They all received an email from me, but they haven't listened yet because I put that under new business. As I can only carry what we had last month. But as we work towards it, it will make its way on our agenda starting next board meeting in April. So I have spoken to Southwest. They are supportive of what we do on the Northwest. I'm not sure if this is something that they will be interested in, but I don't think I will rule that out because we didn't really talk about them doing it. We talked about being supportive of our organization doing it as we try to pioneer this with Gazzardi and hopefully make it, something that can happen. I also spoke with the bank, and we've been working through logistics because before I send out my support letter and really brought it to my board, I wanted to make sure that it was something that was feasible and what it would look like financially for the organization, as we want to make sure that we're fiducially responsible and financially responsible to our taxpayers. So that was the number one thing. So I did have those conversations. And that, again, Southwest, that would have to be Victoria on her own. I will take it back to her, like, hey, are you interested in doing this? But I came to her like, hey, this is what Northwest is interested in doing. We're talking to state reps to write this into law, and we would love your support. And she's supporting us.
Okay, James, do you want to talk a little bit about banks and?
Sure. Hi, everyone. This is James from Northwest State Housing Center. Can you all hear me okay?
Yes.
On this webinar platform. I love it. I've never done the Zoom webinar. So thanks so much for having Ernie and I. Maybe just a little bit of context of what Ernie was saying is one of the things that we're seeing in the community is that some of our older adults, long-term homeowners who actually own their house and don't have a mortgage are having issues paying their property taxes. And we're finding that because of that, some of our older adults, disabled, low-income individuals are at risk of losing their home for just a couple $1,000s that in property taxes. So we're actually working with IDA, the Illinois Housing Development Authority, and trying to work with them to dedicate some of the COVID-19 relief CARES funding that's going to homeowners for mortgages and renters for rent, to also help those that have property tax issues. And in addition, when we brought this up to some of our state reps, and as Ernie said, State Rep Gazzardi, we had also talked about the possibility of extending the Northwest Home Equity Assurance and the Southwest Home Equity Assurance purpose, not just to cover home repairs, but could the loans also help cover arrears for property taxes? So I think the statistic is something like 80% of property taxes that are in arrears are actually under $5,000. So we would be looking at small loans that we could help older adults with to pay that property tax that they could pay back over time. And so State Rep Gazzardi, who's now chairing the State Housing Committee, is in support of the idea, but said that if the state legislation changed, it would need to affect both the Northwest Home Equity Assurance Program and the Southwest Side Assurance Program, which I think is what Ernie was talking about. And so we just wanted to come and float the idea with you all and get feedback and hear about if it's even a possibility or feasible, as we're trying to help folks, maintain their homes on the Northwest Side, particularly as a result of COVID-19 and the impact that people have had. So maybe we'll stop there and see if there are any questions.
All right, I do have a question. So, I mean, the way that the structure of the loans work now is that you have to have a minimum credit score to qualify. And I'm thinking that these people may not have that minimum income score to qualify for the loan. So for a bank to back it, they'd have to have that kind of credit score. And I don't know if we would be set up to be the lending institution to be able to do that.
So Carrie, I spoke because, this is kind of, we kind of jumped a little bit before new business, but I did speak to Marquette Bank and how we could set this up.
Okay.
And some of the things that came up was we would have to put the money in like a pot for the bank, right? So, they take on all the, if somebody defaults, you know, it goes against the bank. So they're taking on all the risks. That's what I was trying to look for. They take on all the risks where our home improvement loans, because we only pay the interest.
Interest, right?
So in this case, we would take on the risk. So what would happen was, let's say we took, let's say $50,000 and put it into Marquette Bank and say, hey, we have these micro loans between $1,000 and $5,000. You can take one out, but if they default, that money that's in there, they would take it from us. So that $50,000 would chip away with each person who takes it if they default on that loan. Now, if they pay it back, then the money's in that account. But if they don't pay it back, we assume the risk of paying that loan in full.
Sure. Okay, so then the next question is, so we would be fronting the money.
Correct.
Marquette would be loaning it out.
Yep.
But Marquette would also be making the money on the interest.
Pretty much. Yep.
Correct. Yeah. And Carrie, this is James. I don't think the issue is credit score. The issue is collateralization, right? So these older adults usually don't have, you know, a low credit score, but for traditional lending, it's tough for them unless they put their house up as collateral because they're on fixed incomes, right? They're retired. So we
Right.
would have to work in this case with Marquette or with the lending institution to say, hey, we know that these are riskier loans, just to be quite honest, because folks are not working, they're on a fixed income. But
Right.
we also know that this is to save their home. So there is work to be done there.
Mhm.
And it sounds like Ivy's done a really great job of already having those conversations. We haven't even gotten that far. We got far enough to say, hey, before we talk to anyone else, we should come to you all at this board meeting and just get your feedback if you even think it's worth continuing the conversation, or if you think it's crazy and we should just go look somewhere else. So we just wanted to bring kind of one of the things that we're seeing in the community to all of you.
Right. I mean, I love the idea of being able to help people with this fund. But like you said, that they would have to be rewritten for both Southwest and Northwest. I'm
Mhm.
assuming it would be the same way that it was done with the low to no interest home loans, that the board would have to vote as to whether to adopt that.
Mhm.
Like we had to here.
That's right.
Yeah, it wasn't like it wasn't a given.
Yep.
That once that was passed, it had to be done.
Yep.
Correct. That's right. So we didn't even want to go through the process. I mean, I think the vote is up to you all to have a conversation in your private meetings, but we didn't even want to go down the path of even offering a change if folks felt strongly opposed to it, because we don't want to do the work to have both the Southwest and the Northwest boards then actually not vote for it or even consider a vote, right? I think we're still a long way away from that. This is a long-term solution, not a like, hey, we're going to start March 1st, but we just wanted to kind of do our due diligence as we're still doing research on it.
And to your point, James, that's why I reached out to Marquette. Even if we don't use them, I kind of wanted to get a banking aspect of what this would look like for us, just so I can come to my board and present all the facts before them so they'll know what this would look like financially for Northwest Home Equity Assurance Program. You know, if we put up $50,000, we have to be prepared to lose that money. And that's what I really wanted to kind of drive home that point. Not that, you know, that's not the worst thing, because people need help. And I think we're all in agreement that people need help, and this is a great program, but how would that look? And I wanted to make that very clear of what that would look like and what role we would play. Maybe it's not 50, maybe we do 20, or maybe it's more. It's truly up to the board, but I really wanted them to be aware of what the bank kind of thought, how it would work, because they wouldn't take on the risk of that, especially given that we're not asking people to put up their home as an asset because they're delinquent in taxes. So that's a lot to ask somebody, like, and if you fail to pay $5,000 back, you lose your home. That's unfair. So
Are
Yeah,
we,
I guess
are
what-
we, oh, excuse, go
No,
ahead.
sorry, go ahead, Gordon.
Are we assuming that the seniors are all getting their homestead and senior citizens discount on their taxes? There's been times where some people have been in their home for many years and they're over 65 and they don't know how to go about having that done on their real estate tax.
Yeah,
So-
we usually check in with them and make sure that they're getting their appeals. We do appeals for them. We also do the exemptions and the certificate of error
Great,
for them so that they get that money back 3 years.
great.
Do you have like a kind of like a solid number on the amount, like the people, the homes in this area and like the dollar amount?
We know, I'm not sure about the dollar amount. I know we know Belmont Cragen has about 80 delinquencies.
Mhm.
No, I had an intern checking. She hasn't come back to me yet, but she is going to check every ward that is in Northwest Home Equity Assurance Program and
Yeah.
let me know what the delinquencies are.
Sure.
And Ernie, if we
And-
take the average of 5,000 times the 80 in just Belmont Cragen, that's about $400,000
Right.
in Belmont Cragen alone. In terms of what the loans would be, I think and my understanding is that the program would support the interest of those loans.
Well, it sounds like the program would have to support both. So we would have to support both the interest and the 400,000 from Ivy's discussions with Marquette.
Yeah, Ivy, are they just saying that they wanted the fund to collateralize or serve as a loan loss reserve for the loans?
Correct. And again, these are preliminary conversations. They didn't sign on to anything, but this is just me asking a bank, what would this look like? And this was their take on what that would look like. Now, if there's another bank that wants to assume that risk, I'm happy to have those conversations.
Yeah. And I guess would it be for a limited time or would this just kind of be in perpetuity? There's just a lot of questions to it that
Pre-funding of the, where would those funds come from?
we have the money in the bank.
Mm-hmm.
We have like what, 9.1 million? Is that something like that, Ivy?
9.6.
9.6 million in the bank.
Come from that. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I
Um,
think that's a good question, Carrie. I guess it would have to, again, go back to the board to say, is this something that you would approve? And I'm just for June, 2021, whatever the date is, for a year only. And then again, because the state legislation has changed, if there were a need again for this, you would have the opportunity to renew it, but it wouldn't
Sure.
be in perpetuity. Ivy, I'm happy to talk offline with you maybe as a next step here before your next board meeting if there are some financial institutions that would be willing to not have the Northwest Home Equity Assurance Program have to collateralize the loans, because I think there's a big risk there for you all versus just, I think our initial thought was you would just help underwrite the interest, which in itself is a commitment and finances. I think if you have to also back all the loans, that's a completely different ask of you all. I'd like to come back with just the interest. And maybe we could think through some of our local financial institutions, particularly with CRA, Community Reinvestment Act, and them needing to lend and all the money that they're giving that they could back these instead of asking you all to.
Absolutely. I'm always open to have these conversations, especially if it's going to move this program forward and a way to help those that are in need, that are in our taxing district. So I think it's only fair. I think it's our duty to look at different avenues to bring this program current into 2021. So yes, let's have that conversation. Let's see if there's any banks. And that's even going back to Marquette, if that's the case, to see if there's a way that we can get this done without us assuming, that risk.
That's right.
Yeah. Also to throw it in there, like anytime you've got a large amount of foreclosures in a community, it's going to nail the property values. So it is in effect, it's a neighborhood stabilization program.
Absolutely.
It's just
That's
assuming that
That's true.
much of a debt
True.
is a little scary.
Sure, especially for the risk associated with the default, right? And my understanding is that's what financial institutions do, right? They assume risk for debt. So part of me feels like we need to push on them to do that. And their incentive is they're getting paid on the interest, to your point. So they have that guaranteed. And maybe there's a way to have a CDFI like LISC or the Chicago Community Loan Fund also support the loan loss reserve. I know LISC has done that before for Northwest Side Housing Center, that they've supported a loan loss reserve. It wouldn't be the full amount, but they would come in and guarantee a percentage of it.
Okay.
Or like the MacArthur Foundation, they have a PRI, program related investments, where they could consider, again, serving a portion of the loan loss reserve, maybe like 50%. And if the bank does 40% and then the Northwest Equity Fund did 10%, right? That maybe would be different than, again, the full risk associated with the debt.
Right. Yeah. So I think a little bit more legwork and seeing who we could get to partner with us and I'm not speaking, when I say this, I'm not speaking as the board. I'm speaking as me, as one of the board members. And I think so, like a little more legwork, see who we can get to partner with us. You know, look at the language for if they were going to rewrite the law, and just kind of look into this a little bit further before I would give you a yes or no. Let me put
Sure.
it to you that way.
Yeah, and as long as it's not an automatic no now, then we'll go do that research and bring it back to you all.
Well, like I said, I'm not speaking for everybody else. Me, like Laura, how do you feel? Gordon, how do you feel about it?
Well, I think more the merrier involved with the banks. Not taking anything away from James, but I think there's enough to banks in the area that they could step forward if they know about, what's going on here. So,
Mhm.
I agree.
Right.
yeah, I would
Laura,
go
you
on.
feel the same? Okay.
Yeah.
Laura,
Yeah.
how do you feel?
I think it definitely aligns with what, the Northwest Home Equity Assurance Program seeks to do for a lot of reasons. I think we can get there on the financials, not easily, but I guess my outstanding question, and just from being a relatively new commissioner, timeline wise, for the state legislature to have to amend an existing bill or a new bill be introduced, I do have a little bit of just concern over how long that would take. I'm not as clear as to what legislation allows us to do what we're doing at a state level. And I'm happy to follow up with Ivy and have that conversation, but given the nature of how the state moves, I could see that taking a while.
Yeah, the problem is we are limited by law. There's only two
Right.
functions we can have.
Yeah.
And it's the loan program and the equity assurance program.
Right.
So we can't branch out of that.
And that was the conversation I had with Gazzardi, was just that the same thing Carrie said, that we're very limited by what that statute says. And so with that's why he's working up that kind of not information, but wording to push it into law. Now, Laura, to your point, it may take forever for it to get passed through, or it may move quickly. I don't know, but yet we can definitely have that conversation offline. I have another meeting that I should be scheduling soon with Gazzardi, and I would definitely loop you in, because maybe he'll have more answers on how long he thinks it's going to take as far as the timeline. But I think the bright side of that is it gives us time to, once it's in law, when we're ready to push the go button, we'll have everything kind of lined up and we'll know what this looks like, how it's going to work. So we won't have to be writing it after it's already passed through law, and we can go ahead and just press the go button if this is something the board chooses to do.
No, that's a very good.
Mhm.
Diane and Pablo and Thomas, do you guys have anything?
I have a question. James and Ivy, normally when you're default in the home taxes, it takes a while, doesn't it take a couple of years for them to sell the deed of that house?
For
Yeah,
back,
it does.
for back taxes, you mean?
Right.
Yeah,
I mean, and what's the normal time frame? Year, two,
Two
Two.
to three, Diane.
yeah.
2 to
Yeah, you
3
have
years?
Yeah, the challenge is though, once you're behind, you accrue fees and then they take off your exemptions again. And so
Mhm.
so the problem is, let's say you owe 5,000, that 5,000 can become 15. And then if you can't afford 5, you can't afford 15. So the early intervention, I think, helps keep the debt manageable. And if back to these individuals, if they had an option and we did outreach at the 5,000 mark, this might work. If we're trying to get folks again a loan at 15 or 20,000, it might be too much for the older adult to actually assume the debt, right? We can't put $500 a month payments on them. They just won't be able to return it. So
Do it.
in order for this to work, it's an early intervention, trying to catch them before it gets to that point. Otherwise, I don't know that this would work for them.
But will like, when the foreclosures, will it stop once you start the process?
You have to make a payment. And my understanding is they don't take payment plans for property taxes, so you have to pay in full.
Okay,
That's
so so they're gonna continue with that interest rate.
Until
Correct.
we are able to provide the loan to pay it off in full. And just as a FYI, and Laura, knows this from other work. This happened to us in real time with someone that had a senior exemption. They said it, the property taxes, the county said it lapsed. They said they didn't. They got charged a late fee. It continued to accrue. And you know, what was $4,000 became $12,000, couldn't qualify for a loan. The loans had high interest rates. They didn't have collateral, couldn't afford it. So Northwest State Housing Center ended up paying that individual's property taxes for them to save their home from foreclosure. And that's how this all started about 2 years ago. And we've been working on it since. And that's really where the impetus for this came, going through that process and understanding without us paying it in full, that older adult on a fixed income who's has a disabled child would have lost their home. And so
Right.
there's really no relief like there is for mortgages or even renters now because of COVID. So we really think this is a unique opportunity because there's no one doing this. If there was a different program, we would send them there. There's just not one.
So then we have to really push a payment plan.
For taxes in addition to this, yeah, because right now there's not an option for that. That's right.
Right.
And James, do we have any hard numbers on how many people that are seniors that are fall into this problem?
Yeah. I know for, like Ernie had mentioned, there's 80 in Belmont Craig alone. I don't think that we've gotten the full Northwest side, but we do have some maps. Ivy, I can send them to you. DePaul Institute on Housing Studies created some information, some data for us on this. And we have a one-pager that shares everything that we've been talking about. So I can share that with Ivy so she can share it with you all to look over. That gives you some baseline data. It kind of has the information, again, the average amount of default. It doesn't cover the whole Northwest Home Equity Assurance Program coverage area, but we can get that data for you all.
Oh, thank you. That'd be great. Yeah.
So the question also would be, how many people in each ward is this affecting? Then if you
Correct. We're looking into that.
It is done by ward. The maps that I'm going to send over to Ivy right now, it is done by ward, but it just shows you a percentage of the ward, not the total number. So it gives you an idea of where folks are at, but not the exact number, but we will get that for you.
So we know for sure there's 80 in Cragen alone.
Correct.
Okay. All right, very good. Thank you.
Yeah.
Mm. Okay.
Thanks for letting us hijack your
Yes.
meeting.
Sorry about that, but thank you.
That's okay. We always want to hear about ways we can help.
Thank you.
All right. Well, thanks, guys. I appreciate it. Does anyone else have any public comment before we move on? We've got one other person on the phone. Okay. All right. We'll move on to old business. I know there's one thing. We do have the sign up form on the header of the website now.
Oh, yes. Okay.
So that is done. That was one of our action items on the website. And is that all for old business?
I am looking through the last minutes to make sure. Yeah, we've changed our meeting to the third Thursday, so that was the only other thing. And the link to our YouTube channel is corrected on our website. And,
Okay, great.
And I do have the link to the newsletter. So, and that was sent over to the Alderman's office. So that's pretty much it for old business for me.
Okay, and I think we just covered new business, right?
Yeah, we did cover new business.
We did a little skip there. But okay, so so who would like to make a motion to adjourn?
I will make it, Gordon.
All right, Gordon makes a motion to adjourn. Who would like to second?
I'll second. This is Laura Sand.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, meeting adjourned at 7:20. Thank you, everybody.
And thank you. All right.
And
Nice
Bye-bye.
listening to you guys.
Bye.
Thank